As many are aware, approximately 20% of the population of Canada resides within about 150 miles of where we are now located. Now, this area has been heavily industrialized for well over 100 years. In the late 80s and early 90s, we were suffering a fairly serious economic recession, and to make matters worse, several international companies engaged in the manufacture of heavy equipment were closing their doors, a good number of which had been customers of MacDonald Steel. Fortuitously, Ken MacDonald saw the need to initiate new endeavors to provide employment for the 150 or so people at MacDonald Steel. When Ken invited me to join his organization in 1991 with the proposal to design and build skidders, I was delighted with the prospect of resuming involvement in an activity in the tree harvesting machinery business. Somehow, and perhaps naively on my part, I got the impression that all Ken was looking for was sufficient new business to warrant bringing back 50 or so people who were laid off at the time. I had known Ken for a few years, but obviously I didn't know him well enough. Little did I realize, nor did he explain to me, that his goals were far more ambitious. Maybe he didn't want to scare me off. Maybe, like many others in our company, he simply caught the fever and got to really like making logging machinery. Maybe he just didn't realize how hard it is to be in the logging equipment business. At any rate, after taking me on a few rides in his airplane to look at market opportunities, we decided by designing and manufacturing wheel feller bunchers, primarily for use in the southeastern United States. Now, this in competition with Deere, Hydrax, Barco, and Franklin, four well-established manufacturers serving a rather moderate total industry sales volume of about 800 machines a year. Not surprisingly, there were those who questioned our sanity. The prototype 726 feller buncher was purchased by Williston Timber in Florida earlier in the summer of 1992. Just a few weeks after unveiling it for the first time at a live logging equipment show in Tifton, Georgia, in April of 1992, the first production machine was purchased by Clary Logging in Cordele, Georgia, in the fall of that same year. A couple of years later, we followed with track machines intended primarily for the Canadian market. And in 1996, Ken finally got a skidder.
It may sound fanciful, but I was also going to compare the beginning of Tigercat to David and a couple Goliaths. In this case, we can all figure either yellow or green Goliaths that are out there that we have to battle on a daily basis. We punch above our weight. Basically, we would go to forestry shows, we would show up places, we would meet people, and we present as a much bigger company than we ever were. Even at 20 years, we're still the David against the Goliaths.
Not in my wildest thoughts did I imagine that 20 years later I would still be working, with Tigercat having grown to 1,000 employees, having built close to 12,000 machines. And we have placed them into operation all over the world, currently with presence in 23 countries. Tigercat machines have proven to be more reliable and more productive than those available before our existence. I believe that we have made a significant contribution to the entire logging community. Those who have purchased Tigercat machines have benefited directly and immediately. Those loggers who continued with other brands eventually also benefited because Tigercat's well-built, innovative products strongly encourage competitors to improve their own offering. For that, we do, perhaps immodestly, take credit and satisfaction, for we believe that we have truly raised the standard in the logging machinery industry.
And we thought we had good equipment. Little did we know. So our family grew, and as we all began to get more pieces of the pie, there wasn't enough pie to go around. So in 2003, we made a decision as a family that our company either had to grow or some of us had to go somewhere else and find work. So we began expanding. And I think I could say with confidence that without Tigercat, we wouldn't have made that expansion. The longevity of the equipment had enabled us to, as equipment got older, I didn't say wear out, as it got older, we would replace that equipment and take the older equipment and start new crews with it. Well, you hire men and put it on that older equipment and it's new to them and it's better than what they were running for your competitor down the road. So as we expanded, we didn't really replace equipment, we just added new equipment and continued to run the older equipment. And it's been a good model for us. We get tremendous service out of Tigercat. And I'm not sure yet, and I asked Tony this down in Panama City 2 years ago at an FRA meeting. I said, Tony, what do you think the expected life capacity of a Tigercat machine should be? And he said, 10 to 12,000 hours. And I said, well, I think it's just getting broke in at 10 to 12,000 hours. Tony said, well, we have to sell new machines to stay in business. But we began to grow and we added crews, and everything that we bought, with the exception of one machine since 2003, and I regret to say that we did buy one other machine, has been Tigercat. And I owe you guys a debt of gratitude for the quality of equipment that you had and that you've made with the economic downturn that we've all suffered through. If we didn't have the dependable equipment that we could continue to run, we wouldn't have made it. There's no question. So I guess I just want to give you a thanks from a Alabama redneck logger for what you guys have done for me and my family and what you've meant to our industry, for the relationships that we have with you guys, for the integrity and the way that you've handled yourself in your business dealings. It's been a pleasure working with y'all, and we look forward to doing more business with you in the future.
I'm happy to say we finally sold some machines into Ghana, but I did a trip there about 3 years ago, and we were dealing with a bunch of French-owned companies in a rubberwood plantation, and I had to do a presentation to two particular gentlemen from France who were running this operation. And it was 8 o'clock in the morning. Picture the scene. We go into this office. Typical French, they don't worry about smoking and all the rules. So I walk into this office, and it's thick with smoke. There's this very strong black coffee being passed around, and everyone's speaking French. I have no idea what's going on. And we had agreed with the gentleman that we were going into it that I would start with an introduction of the company, and then we'd move into the commercial part of the business. So I had my laptop, opened it up, and I started our general presentation. And the gentleman had this cigarette in his mouth, and he had this big puff of hair, and he basically stopped me short of my second slide. He said, no. He says, you don't need to tell me about Tigercat. I know Tigercat. I watch Discovery Channel. So it gets better. I don't take him seriously, so I carry on. I start carrying on with my presentation. He goes, no. He says, you don't need to tell me about Tigercat. Bobby Goodson is my bloody hero.
Actually, the first time I ever seen a Tigercat, we had went to the Atlanta show, and of course I'm a hardwood logger. My brother's a pine logger, tennis shoe logger, and I actually went down there to look at a Ronin swamp skid or some type of humongous track vehicle, because it kind of intrigued me because it worked where I work. And Mike comes up to me, hey man, you got to come look at this tractor. I said, what is it? He says, a rubber tire fella buncher. I said, I don't want a rubber tire fella buncher. So he keeps after me, and eventually he beats me down, so I go look at it. And it was impressive, but it wasn't what I used. 2 years after that, Mike bought one, and solid tractor, good tractor. And it's funny, the very thing that brought us to Tigercat, which at the time we ran a different brand, made the best, we thought at the time was the best rear ends on the market. And that kind of brought our attention to it. And so when it came time, well, actually later on I started shovel logging, and the 748 that I was running with dual tires, every 2 or 3 months it'd break a spindle. And of course we talked to the company, and it's just us, nobody else. Is this happening to you? And I heard that before. But anyway, long story short, the very thing that brought us to Tigercat was the very thing that made us go away from the other company. And we purchased our first 3 skidders in '98, and we are still running all 3 of them. One of them was turned into a clam bunk, and that's probably got 20,000 hours or better. Mike's got the other 2. He bought my little skidder, and they probably got 26 to 28,000 hours on them, and still running strong. But I'm sure the way the economy had turned, that if we hadn't had reliable equipment, that we wouldn't have survived this downturn. But you know, I owe a lot to Tigercat, and you know, and really the type of logging that I do is because of their equipment. And really, Tigercat's the reason I was on TV.
The company was founded on faith, not necessarily faith in God, although that is certainly important to me, but faith in my employees. From the beginning, the belief was, and how we were able to convince many of the people who subsequently joined the company why they should come, is because anything any other company can do, I believe my team can do better. Our company is blessed with an incredible group of superstars. And superstars are important because they set the bar for everybody else to try and achieve. People like to be on winning teams, and that helps us attract other great individuals to join our team. And although, and many of you work with the veterans, and you know, the reason we're here is because of the work of those veterans, but we've also been able to attract some incredibly talented young people. That faith that I mentioned allowed us to found and grow this business continues today, and the faith I have is that the products that they are developing now, the list that we have of things we will do in the future, not only to complement the forest harvesting equipment and attachments we produce today, but a whole new lines of equipment and components that will be incorporated into that equipment, is going to be based on that new group of people that we got.
And of crucial importance to both us and our customers are the Tigercat dealers, whom we consider an extension of our own company. We are most thankful for the confidence that our customers place in our team and our machines when they purchase our product. We owe a particularly large measure of gratitude to logging contractors who took a huge leap of faith and put down hard-earned cash to acquire our first machines back in those early years.